Hello, I am Big Meach, and this is a Big Meach Moment. I'm going to talk directly to my LGBT community, the alphabet children, particularly gay men, to all of my lesbians and my trans children. I'm going to talk to my trans sisters. Trans men, I don't know your plight with dating and carrying on. So I'm going to talk to my trans sisters and my brethren in the struggle. Okay, to all of my heterosexual women, you may apply to this as well. My straight men out there, understand a couple of things because we're talking about you. Okay, and you may learn a couple of things from this as well. But children, have you realized that nowadays trade ain't trade no more? Y'all know what I'm saying. Trade is not trade anymore. You know, once upon a time, for those, well, let me start here. For those of you who don't understand what I mean when I say trade is, very straight acting, straight appearing, masculine men, usually, they were considered, well, nowadays you would say they were on the down low or whatever, or they were hustlers, those who sit down there, what we call gay for pay or whatever the case may be. Or they were also, just masculine gay men who may not have been flamboyant or out, probably still closeted or whatever, or more so private and, doing their thing. But they're called trade because, just like the name says, trade off. They were community property. Or some of you may say OPP, other people's penises, people, and property, okay? And in this particular case, most of us who fancy dating or at least having one night stands or whatever, or at least your little Mr. Right Now booze or whatever, we call them trade. If they wasn't trade, honey, they was your husband. And that was a complete difference. But trade ain't trade no more. Okay? And y'all know what I'm saying because back in the day, you used to have trade, honey, that if you were lucky enough to sit down there and pick up a boy or whatever, you at the bar, you at the club, or you at the park, picked up a little piece of trade or whatever. And if you decided to bring him home, and especially if you was trying to let him stay for a little minute, it's winter time, particularly those of us who are from those states where you get snow and carrying on, the trade would sit down there, they romance with things of that nature so they could find a place to stay, to get out the cold and this, that, and the other. But when they did all that, they came with a couple of skills, okay? It wasn't just about their sex or whatever. It was about, them being able to take care of a house or whatever the case may be. Either they did drywalling or some kind of repair work. They did some kind of electrical shit or whatever. They would clean, they would cook, they make sure they took care of you and this, that, and the other, because they were making an investment in their surroundings or whatever, because they had to make sure they kept the household together because at any given point it was going to be over. Now, having said all that, as we know trade to be, when the weather broke or whatever, what I like to call a prison break, is when they got their asses on their shoulders again and shit started to go awry and wrong or whatever because they wanted their freedom. And they would leave the nest and they were able to maintain themselves out there on the streets again until winter time came about. And then they started the process all over again. But they started grooming you around about September. September's when they start grooming to see who they can latch on to and this, that, and the other. And by that time, most of us been told all everybody who the trade is. Oh, you may want to do that one. Oh, that one got some good dick. Or that one, oh, honey, that one right there. See, we done told all the secrets, right? So, but what has happened is that trade ain't trade no more. Now we got these damn bums that sit up here and think that just because they are perhaps, no, it's not perhaps. They are performing sex out of obligation because they done something, and that's all they have to do. And then the sad thing is that many of us as the children, honey, we start to accept that. And heterosexual women, you too. Because those of you who got your food stamps and carrying on, you want to sit down there and let this motherfucker come up in here. You spend your food stamps on him and carrying on. You buy him shoes and this, that, and the other. And next thing you know, hell, he's sitting up here telling you what to do in your house. He ain't brought nothing to the table. He ain't cleaned the dish. He ain't washed his ass. He ain't did nothing. Okay, want you to sit down there and come out of your pocket for everything. To all of my trans girls, honey, y'all know my queen's out there. You sit up there and get a piece of trade, honey. You label trade as husband material and want to tell everybody, oh, this is my husband, this is my husband, and then get upset because you done did all this and all that, and then this motherfucker go to the next girl. Why? Because he's not made an investment in what's going on, and we accept that. Why? Why? Is it because we're lonely? Is it because we don't want to spend the holiday season, alone and carrying on? Or are we just that damn caught up in having to be in a relationship that we will accept any and everything? These motherfuckers don't even want to wash their ass, let alone wash some clothes. They want you to do all of that. You got to tell this motherfucker to get up and wash his ass because it's been 2 or 3 days. What the fuck is that? That doesn't make sense, child. And I'm sitting up here, I'm looking at the face of homelessness these days and carrying on, and we're looking at these little hustlers out here trying to make $1 and carrying on however they're trying to make it, and yet they have no qualms about themselves. They have nothing to say that they want to clean themselves up, they want to do better. They have nothing about that. Why? Because we have a number of us who sit down there and to accept their bullshit and accept them as they are in the state that they are without giving them a hand up. We are only giving them handouts. And so the question becomes, honey, is that really what we want our legacy to be? When we talk about having the boys and having trade and this, that, and the other, is that what we want this to be? Is that what you want your one-night stands to always amount to? You having to kick out this kind of money and you buying this, you got to smoke him out because he got to get his weed. He got to get my trade was he needed his starter pack. He needed a half a pint of Parmesan, he needed a dime bag of weed, and then he wanted a 40 ounce of beer at the same time, child. Okay. But at least at that time, honey, he would clean, he would cook up, honey, he was a cooking fool and things of that nature. But everything had a price. So now, what do we do about all that, honey? What do we do? And is it fair to still call trade? Are they really trade, honey? Or are we just glamorizing these bums, child, because we just want they easy prey? That's a Big Meach Moment, honey.